right, welcome back to another episode of the Fletch Podcast. This is the beginning of a pretty special series, a new series that kind of came up with at the beginning of the year, and we're just now getting around to getting it started. For those of you who don't know what the idea was or is going into this, I wanted to have a couple sessions, or actually multiple sessions throughout the year of recording my dad, and that's who we have on with me now. So I'll introduce him here. My dad, Mike Mulvaney. Say what's up.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Is this your first podcast episode that you've ever been a part of?
Well, I can honestly say yes. It is.
You've been on the radio and, I don't know, kind of in the public eye in other times, but this is the first podcast.
Definitely the first podcast. Been on the radio and little interviews on news channels back when I was playing ball, but never been on a podcast before.
Yeah. Yes, it's definitely different. Well, it's probably more similar to like a radio interview than anything, but people get to see you in this one. So
yeah, poor people.
I'm sure that's what they think every time that they have to see me, or that they choose to see me. They're like, this guy again. But no, so I mean, you kind of alluded to it there when you were playing ball. Something special has come up in the last couple weeks, and something this will air after it becomes public knowledge, so we can go ahead and share the news. What's the special news that you have to share?
Oh, got a phone call a couple weeks ago, like you said, from the University of Wyoming, and I was selected into the 32nd group of people, I guess, into their Hall of Fame there at University of Wyoming Athletics.
Yeah, congratulations! That's super awesome accomplishment. I mean, not every athlete gets to be part of a Hall of Fame, let alone a college level. So
yeah,
super,
thank you, buddy.
Super awesome.
It's definitely special, that's for sure. It was a surprising phone call, to say the least, and just feel very fortunate of all the times that we've had and all the work that you put in. And then, shoot, what were we just thinking? I think it's been 30 some years ago that, 33 years ago that I was done playing. So probably was not, not probably, it was not even thought of that I'd get that phone call, and then did. And looking forward to a couple good, we go to a basketball game tomorrow where it'll be announced at halftime, and then back later on in September for a football game. They'll have the induction ceremony and go through the whole deal. Hopefully you guys will be able to make it out too.
Yeah, we've been looking at the calendar like every week ever since, being like, okay, is this still working out? Anything that gets added to the schedule, and Caitlin already blocked off her schedule for not being assigned any of her duties or whatever with her job. So gonna definitely do our best to avoid anything, but we're gonna get that thing scheduled to fly out there as soon as we can to make sure we're there for that, because that's something, it's once in a lifetime. You can't miss that.
Yeah, we definitely
so. Well, I guess this one might be one of the longer episodes of this series. And I mean, so for the people that are listening and not watching, is sitting in his man cave up in Wyoming, and eventually we'll get like an overlay of maybe a video of the whole man cave, but each episode we're going to kind of talk about one or two of his mounts that he has. So behind him right now, he's got antelope and some deer, and on the other side of the camera, he's got fish and geese and birds. He's got all sorts of critters up there on the wall. Super cool. And he's got stories for all of them. Obviously, you don't just mount anything. Some people do, but a lot of them have really cool stories. So, but leading up to that, I guess tell us a little bit more about you. We obviously know now you went to the University of Wyoming, played some baseball. I guess, is there any other factoids you want the listeners and viewers to know about you?
It's don't talk too well about myself, obviously, but yes, I did play 4 years at University of Wyoming, and then went on and played another 3.5 years. Got let go in spring training with the Cincinnati Reds after that, and then went on to further my career with the education field and teaching both American history and physical education, and then coaching Division II, NCAA Division II Colorado School of Mines for 13 years while I was doing that teaching, and finished up my career as an administrator, assistant principal, at the middle school level, and then moved into my last stint of 4 years at the high school level as an athletic director there in Arvada.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a pretty successful history between baseball and coaching. And because, I mean, you, like you said, you don't talk about yourself too well. There's always things that, some people are arrogant and like to share all the highlights, but, going back, you kind of glaze over it sometimes. And, you earned Coach of the Year and all sorts of other accolades, Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, things like that in your playing career. And so, I mean, lots of success all the way through your adult life. So definitely tons to be proud of. And, the University of Wyoming Hall of Fame is just another one we already mentioned, but another one to really, really be proud of. So no, those are awesome little bits of information to kind of get a feel for who you are, where you've been.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, some ties to Tennessee. You played, like you said, you're in the Reds organization. You played in Chattanooga, which is a couple hours south of Nashville. How long were you in Chattanooga?
Actually, that was my second full year. It concluded the best year of my baseball career, and probably the best year of my life. 1989 started off in Greensboro, and you mentioned Player of the Year there and Rookie of the Year. That's where I kind of got my bearings under me there as South Atlantic League Player of the Year and Team MVP. Got selected to the All-Star game or All-Star team and playing the game for the third consecutive year. Then we probably had 4 weeks left of the season, 5 weeks, and got called up from Greensboro. We were actually in Myrtle Beach and got called to go back home and grab everything and head over to Chattanooga to finish out the year. And while I was gone, got selected to the Topps Minor League Player of the Year, which is the baseball trading card. And then fast forward later on that year, November 11th, married your mother, and just was a great year. And that's kind of my ties. The following year, went to spring training and ended up getting assigned to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which was in the Midwest League, and played through there for a year. And then my last year, I was assigned to Nashville, where you're at now, and eventually just didn't work out. Got let go in spring training with a few other corner position players, first and third. Got let go with some organizational changes at the major league level, and it all just kind of filtered down, and just felt like my time was up, and started on with my career in education.
Yeah. So then I guess it kind of leads into the story that I guess I told you we were going to share first. You didn't really have much choice because it was there in the background. That antelope back there. It kind of leads into that story of that a little bit.
Yeah, your mom and I were dating. That was my second big league kill, I guess. Harvested a second antelope. Never really was around big game hunting much growing up. Your grandfather took me bird hunting. Grandma actually would take me bird hunting out in Nebraska and drive the back roads and get out and let me walk some ditches and some corners, and she'd wait for me. And then grandpa would go fishing with me and occasional bird hunting, this or that. And then when I met Jill, or your mom, Jill, and her dad really got me into some big game hunting, and that's where we started off with antelope. And first time I'd really ever shot a high-powered rifle, and then here I am just kind of chasing them around everywhere now. So definitely got to start when I met your mother and with that side of hunting.
So talked about it, the antelope behind you, it's one of your few, if not only, animals you actually have kind of a name for, which these days, like people name their big deer that they chase after, they've got unique features that they name it after, like a turkey foot or just something generic like Big 8 or Big 10, whatever. This one, you got a name for it. What's the name and what's the story behind the name? And I guess obviously it leads into the story of him.
Right. Well, the name is Miles. Like you put on miles and run a mile, Miles. And that does have kind of a long story. I'll give you the easy version, I guess, if nothing else. You can kind of see him back there. I can fiddle that around a little bit, but he is a freak, non-typical antelope that Jill and her dad and I were always kind of looking for, that type, if that's a good one or not. But we were back in the days of just a single cab truck. We were in Papa's old red Ford truck, and it was your mother and I and Mimi and Papa all in the front of this pickup truck, and we were on a 2-track road. Wasn't even a main country road, just a 2-track. And Papa was a big archaeologist as far as always arrowhead hunting. And we had been driving on this 2-track road, and he puts on the brakes, and I thought, man, where's this antelope? I can't even see it. Well, he gets out, walks up about 20 feet in front of the truck, and digs around in the dirt, comes back with a full cut antelope or arrowhead. And like, how in the heck could you do that? So we went out there and we started looking for arrowheads. And next thing, just kind of walking around all these old fire pots, where the Native Americans, Indians, would have their camps, and found those. And as I was walking around, I spotted a herd of antelope across the way there. Just thought, well, we'll look at them. I glassed a little bit, could tell a couple bucks in there, but they were pretty far away. And we got back in the truck and looked at the arrowhead and had something to drink, got in the truck and took off again, went around the corner. And I couldn't even tell you how far out there it looks. I would guess probably 200 yards, 250 out. It was miles with this antelope was sitting there. And Papa had a pretty good spotting scope, and I had my glasses, and I put the glasses on, and I just told him, I said, man, Jim, that looks like a good goat. He slammed it into park and opened up his door because the spotting scope was mounted on the window on obviously the opposite side, so nothing's ever convenient. And he didn't want to turn the truck because he could tell it was a good one. By scoring an antelope, you kind of look at the height, and then the color of their face and the color of their horns kind of dictate where they're at as far as age-wise and girth-wise, as far as how their mass is. Then when you can get to a point where you can see their paddles on the fronts, if they're above their ears, it's something you might want to pursue and go after. And sure enough, he met all those. And we turned, and he got on there, and he said, "You need to kill him, Mulvaney." And I got up, and then he turned and looked right at me, and I could see where it was a freak, where the side we could probably guess is he might have, when he was maybe years ago, younger, whatever, might have got caught up in a fence or something and just kind of pulled that part of his skull that direction where the right horn would connect to. And anyway, I shot, and like I said earlier in the podcast there, it's this is about my second shot I think I ever took. I killed my first antelope with one shot, and this was my second, and don't even know where that hit. I was probably nervous, can't really remember at the time. I always say, just like any hunter, oh no, I didn't have buck fever, I wasn't nervous. You never know what really happens. And but I ended up shooting twice at him, and he got out there about 400 yards, and I wasn't comfortable in shooting. And old Jim Farver, he's in the back telling him, put one in and keep throwing them at him. When you're chasing those goats and hunting them the way we did back then, it was just for the mount, just for the head. We gave the meat away, so it was really just trying to get one inning to slow it down, and that's not the ethical hunting that it turned into. And that was the head hunting part of it that made it Miles, because he took off with the herd. And we got back in that truck, and he said, I think I know where they're going. They're going around the mountain or the hill. And we took off. It seemed like back then it was 50 mile an hour on this 2-track road, but reality, it might have been 5 to 10. miles, every one of those. And remember, we got your mom and grandma with us in the middle of us, and everybody's bouncing and things are jumping everywhere. And we figured my last one was probably somewhere 450 to 500, 525 yards. Had no idea where we hit. We think it was a little bit low. And we went around the corner and we couldn't see him running, couldn't do anything. And I just said, well, darn it, that was a good go. And I sure would have liked to have seen him up close. And it wasn't 10 seconds after I said that, we kind of turned around this road path, just kind of took us, curved around to the left, and said, holy shit, Jim, there he is right there. And he was, and I'm not kidding you, he wasn't 20 yards away. And he was, well, maybe 50, but he was, all I could see was his head, not even his shoulders, just his head, antlers, and it was just sticking above the sagebrush like it was a picture that he would just pose for a portrait. And Jim says, shoot him, kill him right there. I said, I can't even see him. He said, well, what the hell you mean you can't see him? I can see everything there is to see of him. I said, all I got is a headshot. Kill him, he said. Boom. As soon as he said it, I hit him and I whacked him right between the eyes and went straight through his skull plate. So back then, the scoring for Antelope, you couldn't score well, you could, but it wouldn't go into a record book if the skull plate was broke. I would imagine it's probably still that way. But the reason that Jim, your papa, had told me that was because they deduct the width, the spread of the antlers off of the total score. Antelope score, anything wider than their tallest horn, they deduct the difference in that width. Since then, it's changed, so I don't know if that would be the case. We had a picture before and after of the goat, and when we took it to the taxidermist, he made it right on those pictures. Even though the broken skull plate, he screwed that back together exactly how that one right side flopped over and kind of opened up a little bit. And if we didn't deduct points on his width, he was an 86 and 7/8, which I think the record book at that time was either 78 or 80. So he's a good buck, and definitely once we got taking pictures of him, and I was holding him there for the pictures and just told Jim and Jill and Linda that, gosh darn, this is Miles. I'm naming him Miles. We had to drive miles after this dang thing, and finally shot him at 40, 50 yards, and it's just kind of a unique deal. And ever since then, I think, I don't necessarily have a story in mind when I take an animal, but you're 100% correct and I would probably be, truth be told, going back, I'll bet you I could tell a story of just about everything I've killed as far as big game and big, something that's on the wall. Definitely, like you said, I'll send a video of the whole man cave here bar, and definitely all the animals that are up on the wall. The whitetails behind me are awesome stories. The goose hunting, I mean, you were part with me in two of the big fish stories. It's something that I just remember, and you'll hear on talk shows and the Outdoor Channel, and how, if you don't kill something, it's not worth going, or this or that. Well, you'll hear them say that, no, it's the memories you take out of the field or out of the boat or off the water or off the mountain that really matter. And don't get me wrong, I still really, really go out there with the intent to harvest an animal every time I go. But if it doesn't happen, which I've got those stories too. This year I had a real nice buck, probably the best whitetail I've had. He's still out there. He's growing another year. I decided to give him a chance while they're shooting a little high. But
give him a warning shot.
Yeah. Go eat some more and come back a little bit bigger. But yeah, we'll talk about that too. But there's definitely stories and pictures, and you can sit in here and have a drink, a beer, and iced tea, and I could tell you a lot of stories about a lot of things that happened, not only when I took that particular animal, but that whole trip, or things that we did, and like I said, a lot of them were with family, you and mom's side of the family. Uncle Mike was in a couple of them, had your Uncle Brad, who never even thinks about doing anything on his own, and I probably had to drag him on the fishing trip that we went to. But it's definitely a good experience, a lot of fond memories of spending time with family and friends, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, these episodes are going to be kind of designed to be a little bit shorter. And like I said, this one might be a little bit longer, but I don't know. We're kind of in that time frame of where I was kind of hoping they would be every episode, but we'll extend it just a little bit longer. Kind of spoiler on the rest of the series, because chances are if you would have gotten them by now, you probably would have them on the wall. But is there an animal or a few animals that you haven't harvested that you would like to still? Like, do you have like a dream hunt or a dream species? I know there is one series of species that you're trying to get is on your bucket list, but do you kind of have a couple bucket list animals you want to hunt?
Well, yeah, like the series you're talking about, I would probably guess you're talking about turkeys. We did get a chance when we came out there to Nashville to go to that convention and thoroughly enjoyed that. Learned some new things, got a few calls, and I've got a Merriam and an Eastern, no, a Merriam and a Rio that I've just mounted my own fans with, and then looking at it is like, I could really, I got connections in parts of the country or what have you to be able to get an Eastern or a Rio pretty easy. The tough one for me is going to get that Osceola down in Florida. But there is a good close friend of mine up here that has some connections down there for gator hunting and hog hunting. And then they also have that Osceola there too. But, I got an opportunity to shoot a hog with my bow, and I've really turned into more of a bow hunter. I'll still take the rifle out on an elk hunt if, up here, I haven't had a chance since we've moved up here to Wyoming to draw a bull tag. Once I do that, I'd love to be able to go out and do that archery. I've never had a chance to matter of fact, I don't know that I've seen an elk when I'm carrying a bow. It seems like you have to have a rifle to even see one. And then down in Colorado, all you ever saw were cows, and up here, all you see is bulls. And I got a cow tag. So hopefully it'll all come together for that one of these years and do that. But I've always thought about, the caribou and the even bear hunting, moose. I'd love to get a moose, and, you put in for all these things. Well, some of them, there might not be enough life to live to start putting in for some of those, but if you get them in the next couple of years, bighorn sheep or goats or any of that, don't really have to. Would be an experience. Don't know if the hips and knees will last going up and down that mountain as much as you have to go, but the moose seems like there's something there. Moose, caribou. Just lately,
A little more flat land.
we've had a real big mountain lion, and then last week while we were in Nashville, there was a extremely large wolf shot. It's probably 3.5 miles to the west of us here. Which we're not in wolf country by any means, but when you're in Wyoming, I suppose everything's wolf country because they're gonna pack and travel what they need, just like the cats. The mountain lions are getting more and more popular around here, and seeing those kind of gets you that itch to want to give that a try. But there again, it's what do you want to do, pick and choose wise? We always go on the fishing trips. I chase walleye around the country, and last year we had a big year. Went to Erie and Lake of the Woods, Devil's Lake, Leech Lake, all around somebody's wedding. And got a chance to pull the boat out there and stayed there, and then turned around and went back a week and a half after I got back from that to Devil's Lake. So we like doing that. We're heading back to Erie here in the end of April. So I definitely like to travel around doing that stuff. Everything's pretty much oriented around that. I kind of got off of anything specific I wanted to go after, but anything that I haven't gotten and haven't getting a chance to have a new experience and see those animals, critters out in the wild, or it's a whole new experience. Sitting up a tree or sitting in a blind, stuff that you don't see every day. But if you like I've been hearing you and Tanner and Brooks on your podcast, it's time in the tree, time in the woods, time in the blind, time on the boat, and you're not going to get that opportunity to harvest one of those animals if you're not out there. And fortunately, when you are out there, even if you don't harvest one, you get to see a lot of cool stuff and be part of it. So that's I've really taken to enjoy. But don't get me wrong, I love to bring stuff home to the freezer.
Right. Yeah. No, there's like you were saying, like the goats and moose and stuff like that. Like you kind of have to have some foresight on like. And at one point, we kind of had that going where we were putting in for preference points in Colorado, and it was like, yeah, let's put in for this, this, and this, and start building points so that someday maybe we can go and do it. And then that all kind of fell on the wayside. But it's like, if you in the current moment have any inkling to ever want to do it, it's like you almost have to put in for 10, 15 years. It sounds like for a lot of these really big hunts for, the one of a kind species.
Right. Wyoming's a little bit different in that aspect. They really do have a, I don't know how, if it's a true statement saying it's process of luck, open
like
draw.
A true lottery.
Well, I know that years putting in can't hurt you, but for a lot of the tags, Colorado is the preference point. Some of those areas you can't even put in for or even have a chance unless you have 12 preference points.
Right.
Wyoming, you could draw anything just your first time, but every year that you put in gets you that many draws, if that makes sense. So if this is my 5th year up here and I've been putting in for 5 years and this will be my 6th, I'll have 6 chances at that draw. It's not necessarily preference points to put me up in the order, but my name for a raffle essentially would be put in there 6 times rather than just one. I think that's the way it's done. Don't know for sure. I really just I just fill out the stuff in Wyoming, Kansas, and sometimes Nebraska, South Dakota. And if I draw, great. I don't really get into knowing exactly how it's done. I know that there's some places that you can put in a certain way and might have a better opportunity, a better statistical chance of getting that. But
right.
It is what it is. There'll always be a fun trip no matter what. I can always go fishing.
Yeah, exactly. Just find the spot that you want to go to now. It's just grab and go, grab the gear and get out there.
Right. Yeah. If you go, I had a chance to go over to Argentina a few years ago, and it's trips like that for hunting you do have to put some time into. But when you're going on a shotgunning trip, it's a little bit different than having to draw. And I suppose you probably don't even have to draw out there if you just want to pay for the tag and go out there for a big game hunt. But yeah, it takes a little bit of planning for some of them, and some of them in years. We're going to go down to Mississippi here in a few weeks and do some hunting down there for turkeys, and we'll just kind of see. That just kind of fell in my lap, and there's a couple other things that have been talked about, mentioned, brought up, and if they ever do happen to fall into my lap again, I'll jump in the truck and let's go.
Right. Yeah, you're retired. You got nothing holding you back.
Yeah. Just go. I was very fortunate to have a loving wife that tells me, "What are you sticking around here for? Get out of here."
Quit bugging me around here. Go do what you want to do for a week.
Oh, right.
Awesome. Well, I think that was a good first episode. I always enjoy listening to the story of Miles, and like you said, there's plenty of critters on the wall to share stories on. So this whole series might take months to get all the animals out of the way. So, which I'm hoping for. I hope it doesn't only take a couple weeks and then we're like, oh, we ran out of things to talk about. But
yeah,
it's always fun to hear those stories.
Like I said, and I even forgot about that after you said about stories. Your mom and I were dating at the time, so I took Miles back after we got him mounted, and he was hanging up in my college apartment for a while. And people would have the story about Miles for that too. Matter of fact, one time we had a party and they started throwing in dollar bills in kind of a tip jar, to help me pay for another one. It just thought it was like one of our pets or something.
That's funny. Yep. Well, no, I think that was a good start, good first episode to it, and we'll have plenty more to share. And then, like I thought about it as you were kind of sharing the Miles story, and this will kind of be my last point. It's definitely interesting to hear the stories from like farther back as opposed to more recent, just to hear like the different thought process at the time versus what maybe more the thought process is now, generally speaking. And for you, you're talking, you're going out just for a good buck, and you're going to get a mount out of it, as opposed to hunting it for the meat and
Right.
the stuff, and it's a bonus. But
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear the thought process then versus, like I said, versus now.
Yep.
So, well, do you have any closing thoughts for the first episode of this series?
Oh, no, I'm not good at it yet, so I probably better let you go ahead and do that. And we'll look forward to getting on there with you next time. That's for sure. Enjoyed it.
Yep. Yeah, we'll try to do this once a week, and this episode should come out on a Monday. And the plan moving forward is for these episodes to come out on Mondays. We might record a handful in a row, but just kind of space them out on when we release them. And then from there, Wednesdays and Fridays will kind of be episodes with Brooks or Tanner or both, or whoever other guests I decide to maybe get lucky to have on. So for now, look forward to these episodes to come out on Mondays. And yeah, this is the first one, and lots more to go.
Sounds great, buddy.
Well, thanks for hopping on, and definitely looking forward to the next one.
You betcha. Give me a shout.
All right, we'll cut it here.
All right.